Okay, so it's not like we can just drop a net and then just start scooping up and then throwing out the good stuff and keeping the bad stuff.
Well, you can.
Okay.
So it's a multiple layer thing, and I wish there was one answer to all of this. And I feel like people maybe have this concept of scientists like, y'all are so smart, you know, you could just figure it out. But it's not only scientists that need to address this issue. It's everything. I like to think my project is really focused on socio-ecological systems, which is the idea that humans interact with the environment, and they're not separate things. We're actually one thing. And so when one person or one thing does something, there's a feedback loop that's happening. And so same thing with just within a social system, right? Government makes rules and it has a trickle-down effect. And so what's interesting is there's another way you can catch catfish, particularly in the freshwater systems where there's not as much salt. It's called electrofishing. And so they essentially stick an electrode rod in the water, set it to a certain frequency. Because blue catfish don't have scales, it will zap only blue catfish. Okay. And then all those blue catfish will be stunned, and they can go to the surface, and then you can scoop them up in mass.
Two best friends with the attention span of a goldfish. We'll literally talk about anything and everything, and at some point, we'll argue about it. It's time for the Arguing Goldfish podcast.
The ones that make the eggs, because the males can't lay the eggs, so if we are able to remove the large females, then we can kind of get at the animals that are helping create the next generation. Second, one of the biggest bottlenecks in the blue catfish issue in Chesapeake Bay is kind of a deleterious old law that FDA created in the early 2000s that made it really hard for fish processors to be able to process this fish and adhere to federal regulation. And so we have people out there catching them. A lot of people are distributing them within the community, but if we really want to open the market, right, and encourage people to take these fish out of the water and show them that there's a market, you could make money, you can stop crabbing, you could stop doing this and that, maybe just do less of it, and you could catch blue catfish and have a reputable seller you can sell it to, who will then process it and get it to the supermarkets, get it to the restaurants, and all the other consumers. So another thing that they're trying to do, at least in Maryland, government is trying to pass legislation or encourage the federal government to change the FDA regulation so that way more processors can process this fish legally.
I'm going to really pull back. Where does the Chesapeake start and until you get to here? Like, because I'm assuming when this fish was brought here from
Rio Grande,
they put it in a big body of water, and then it just migrated to wherever it wanted to go? Or did they pick a place and then it moved on itself?
So Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources picked 3 large rivers in Virginia close to the mouth of the bay where it goes out into the ocean. So that would be the James, which had the largest stocking of blue catfish, and the Rappahannock, and then the York River. Okay.
And if I were someone who wanted to get rid of it completely. Oh, let's start with what made you pick your project, specifically the blue catfish?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And the reason I'm saying that is because, again, I was at the other one, and I'm assuming there's more than just 2, but the other one is the snakehead that seems to be doing equal damage.
Yeah.
So what is it that attracted you to specifically the blue catfish?
So as a scientist, you need to be really methodical and logical and strategic about what you're going to study. You need to have access to it. You need to have access to people who are working on it. And then you need resources to be able to support that. And so my fellowship is for fisheries, so I had to do something fisheries related. Like I said in the beginning, I'm also environmental science programs manager for another organization, a nonprofit within Baltimore. And I was running an invasive fish bounty program. So the 3 fish that we target are snakehead, blue catfish, and flathead catfish. The reason why I didn't pick snakehead is because I had started working on a USGS project to make the blue catfish worksheet, which a lot of people have been referencing. It came out in 2024. And so because I had that connection with them, I was already doing so much research about blue catfish. It just seemed to make sense with the time that I was investing in this issue, the connections that I had, the access to all the data that I had to pick this fish.
Okay. Before this fish came into your life, what was the project that you were working on right before you got to this specific fish?
Yeah, so the project I was working on before this was wastewater management, which honestly was very closely tied to the blue catfish issue. And I will just add that another reason I picked blue catfish was because it was understudied, but was already showing that it had huge implications on the bay. So I wanted to be able to investigate that. But I was really passionate about wastewater. I'm originally from New York City. I grew up in Brooklyn, then I moved to this little beach town called Rockaway. There's a rock and roll song about it, but it's very interesting for me to transition from a very, very urban environment where my neighbor had a tree. I was like, oh, that person has money. Like they have a tree, to a beach town where everybody had trees. I could see birds everywhere. I didn't see anything other than pigeons and like wild parakeets that got loose when I lived in Brooklyn, but I was seeing a variety of seabirds and stuff. And then I would notice that after rainstorms, there would be like stuff in the water, like hypodermic needles, plastic bags, garbage. And that really got me thinking, like, why is this happening? And then throughout my career as a scientist, I've interned at various places in New York. Then I lived in Miami. They have huge wastewater problems because they're at sea level. So anytime there's any kind of rain, it's just overflowing their wastewater system and everything's pouring out. So I was a naturalist in Miami. I saw firsthand what was happening. Then I was a water keeper down there. I would have to test that nasty water myself to see how much bacteria was in it. And so really for me, it was like, here's an overarching issue that affects so many environmental things. Like, why not just study wastewater management? Who's connected? How are they connected? What are they doing? And so that was one thing that I did before I really jumped into blue catfish, was study wastewater management in the Patuxent River, which has a lot of environmental justice issues. They have the first, and I think the only, black river keeper in all of America, Fred Tutman, who is a champion for environmental justice. Like, watch videos of this man speaking. He'll have you sat with your mouth open like you said you were for my talk.
So the reason I went back to where, right before, if you're in this group, someone brought this to your attention.
Yeah.
Was it, and you're at wastewater at this point, what group did you hear it from? Was it the fishery people that you heard it from? Was it
yeah,
like the economic, like where did you go? Where did it go? And then you just you just laser beamed to it.
Yeah, I forgot the connection, but you asked me that, made me remember.
That's
it.
okay.
So I decided I was going to enter a film contest, actually, and I was going to showcase, because I'm very passionate about ethnographic film. Besides being an environmental scientist, I'm also studying anthropology, which is a huge part of my project. And so another river that I was studying was the Potomac River. Potomac River has huge wastewater management issues. I mean, I'm sure I don't know if you heard about the recent sewage spill that happened a couple months ago. And so I wanted to enter this film contest. I had done the social network analysis. I had mapped out who's connected to who, all that stuff. And I noticed, I mean, I didn't notice, we all kind of know this, if you're in the world that I'm in, that the indigenous communities are just not included in management decisions. But they're directly impacted by it. And they're also the people who have all of this traditional ecological knowledge stemming back millennia of the area that we're in that just is not recorded anywhere. And if it is, it's like in 2 or 3 papers, and you really, really got to search to find it. So I figured I would make an indigenous tribe the star of my film. Did a lot of cold emails. Turns out the Potomac tribe of Virginia answered me back. One of their tribal leaders is actually an anthropologist himself. And so he said, yeah, you can come and interview us. So I got in my car with all my equipment, and I drove down to Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I interviewed them about, you know, what environmental injustices they're experiencing. We talked about wastewater, we talked about air pollution. Then they talked to me about blue catfish.
Okay.
And what was interesting to me is they were saying how the federal government really tried to do their best job at erasing their culture from everything, even down to census. This, like, the census people would come and record them as farmers or as fishermen, not as indigenous people, right? As a way to kind of erase that they were existing there. But they were doing those things. They were farming, they were fishing, but that's part of their indigenous way of life. And they're continuing to do that now. A lot of them are still watermen, and they're struggling a lot because blue catfish are hurting their way of life. These fish that they've been catching for, again, millennia, right? They know how to weave baskets out of sticks that perfectly catch these eels. They're crabbers. They catch all different kinds of stuff. They're telling me that they're pulling up their crab pots and they're finding blue catfish. So they're telling me red tide, right, which is associated with bad water quality, usually pollution, sewage specifically in the water. They're like, not only are we dealing with red tide killing our catch and making it inedible or unable to sell, and on top of that, we're catching blue catfish and we're opening up their stomachs and we're seeing that they're eating the crabs.
When they started catching it by accident, were they eating it?
They definitely eat them, yeah.
But even at the beginning, did you know if they noticed there was a difference in the type of, like, you know how if you eat this, like a salmon, it tastes this way. If you eat a tilapia, it tastes differently. Like, could they tell that there was a difference?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
These people, like I said, they've lived off the land for millennia. They know everything that's supposed to be here and they know everything that's not supposed to be here. They're very resourceful people, and so they don't let anything go to waste. The Potomac, not so much, but I do know the Pamunkey tribe down in Virginia as well also has a very strong environmental science group, which is kind of rare for an indigenous tribe to have. But they do research, and one of the people part of that research group does catch blue catfish and distributes it, I believe, for free to the community, to anybody who wants to eat them.
Okay. So we got how it got here, which it seems to be an amazing feat to take something across country, and I'm assuming some sort of water container.
Usually, I don't know if have you ever seen videos of them stocking lakes?
I have seen that. So I can just imagine like a milk truck, like one of them big pull trucks just full of fish. Do you know how many they let go to start this project?
I believe in their first installation of them was about 77,000 of them.
Which sounds like a lot, but...
And that was 1 year. So every couple of years they would do another restocking of like tens of thousands of them. Okay. And they were fry, so they were babies. So it was much easier than moving giant fish.
If we were to, if getting rid of it is as easy as putting a copper wire in the water and electrocuting it, why don't they do that?
Licensing.
You need a license to do that?
Yes. Okay. So fishing in Chesapeake Bay is highly, highly regulated.
That's considered fishing?
Yes.
Killing a fish is considered fishing?
Well, electrofishing, you're not killing it, you're stunning it.
Oh, okay.
So, in theory, if you just left it there, after about an hour, it would come to and swim away.
So that's why it shocks it, it floats, you scoop it up. Okay. And that would seem to be a job in itself.
Yes.
So then there's the economy trickle-down effect. Someone's got to pay that guy to do that. It's not like he's just doing it in his own pond.
Well, we call them barriers to entry, the cost of being able to actually fish, and that's something that's crippling a lot of fishermen right now. So first you need the license, which is typically expensive.
Sure.
And then on top of that, you need the actual equipment, which we're talking about like technology.
Sure.
It's not just like a hook on the end of a string, right? We're talking about like something that's electric. You want to make sure it's not going to electrocute you too while you're in the water. And then, like you said, then you need somebody to pay you to do it, and that's where having a market to sell these fish is important. Yeah.
And then once someone starts making money, they don't want to not stop making money. Exactly. So then I see how that would be a difficult push to get them to stop it. I also thought it was interesting when you were talking about we're going to use this fish to possibly put it into animal food. The difficulty was using the word invasive.
Well, it's one of the difficulties. Another one is the processors are afraid that people will see a fish marketed towards animal food and assume or have a negative connotation to humans also eating it.
Is there anywhere right now? So when I was at the other lecture before I met you, I ate blue catfish crab cakes or balls of some sort. I had no idea what it was. The chef is making money. The restaurant's making money. It's almost like crabbing, right? So everyone's got a piece of the puzzle. If we were to let this fish go unattended, no, we're not trying to get rid of it, what would be the damage and how long do you think it would be? Is that too generic of a question?
No. That's a question that a lot of scientists are tackling right now. Not a lot. When I say a lot, there's a handful of us that do this. If we were to leave this issue unattended, so I'll just give you a stat right off the back. 75% of all the biomass, that means all the living things, plants, animals included, in the southern portion of the Chesapeake Bay, 75% of them are already blue catfish. And that's a statistic from 2011, right? So that hasn't been replicated within the last 14, 15 years. So we don't know if that's increased. So these fish, some other invasive species that are in the water or just in general in this area, there's some kind of check. There's something competing with it. There's something that's stopping it from getting bigger. Because blue catfish diet is so broad, if they eat all the shad, they'll just move on to the next fish. If they eat all the vegetation, they'll just move on to the next thing. And so we're really in a situation now where they could very likely be the only thing that we will be able to catch in the bay.
What's the one thing you were saying earlier that the grass was one that we don't want to lose? What's the one thing that this thing could eat that would really shock our ecosystem here in the Chesapeake? Like, what's the one thing we're getting at dangerous levels back in '91 with this specific thing? Because every so often they stop crabbing, right? Because the numbers get too low, and then they let them replenish, and then we get to go crabbing again.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've actually, I guess what we should say is, what do you monitor since this thing's been in our bay? So we have the grass.
Yes.
And then we have the other types of fish.
Yeah, so I will say first, Chesapeake Bay is one of the most well-studied bodies of water in the world. Definitely the most studied body of water in the Americas. And so we have studies going back, I think, over 100 or maybe 200 years of studying various things in the bay. So we've been studying the vegetation or seagrass and all those other plants for quite a while. We've been studying shellfish, we've been studying our native animals, right? So we have a really good baseline for a lot of native species, but we don't have that same baseline for all these quote unquote emergent invasive species. I'm saying quote unquote emergent species because they've been here since the 70s, right? So they've been here for a long time. And what we have studied about them, there are some scientists that are tagging them, so seeing where they're swimming and migrating to. We have a variety of diet studies from different rivers, right? But there's not one comprehensive all-bay study. We have some size studies. The issue is, and this is what Governor Moore was trying to do. If we were able to declare it as a fisheries emergency, that would open up a lot of federal funding to be able to be funneled into this area to study this fish.
Okay.
What's funding the studies of this fish right now are individual academic institutions and a couple of government groups that have set aside certain task forces to do this. There is the Invasive Catfish Work Group, which I am a part of, which is out of the Chesapeake Bay program. And so it's people from all different avenues of blue catfish management, from the processors to restaurant owners, sports fishermen, academics, government, you name it, they're on that group. But again, it's a lot of piecemeal work, and it's a lot of people trying to do what they can do. And that's, as an environmental scientist, you kind of have to make your peace with that. When I started environmental science, I would get so mad at my professors. Be like, you're so smart, you know so many powerful people, you have the ability to change so many things, why don't you do more? And they would always tell me, you do what you can do, and that's it. And that used to frustrate me until I got to graduate school, and then I understood. Because it's like once you're an expert in the field, everybody and their mother starts asking you for answers. They come out of the woodwork. So like somebody the other day, I have some social media presence, asked me, solve the California water crisis. I'm like, yeah, let alone me all by myself solve an entire state's water crisis. But these are the kind of really unrealistic expectations people have about scientists, and I had about scientists as well, even as a scientist. Now at this level where I can be almost a doctor, I understand that the best that we can do is be really good at our specialty and change one little thing, right? And then just hope that other people do their little thing, and then together, it's not one little thing, it's a lot of things. And so that's kind of where the blue catfish issue is now. I will say, as a critique, we need more attention to this. Like I said, it's an issue that has already snowballed into impacting every single part of the seafood industry in this area. We should have been able to declare a fisheries disaster, but that was denied. And so if we really had some like strong federal support on top of the state support that we have, at least in the state of Maryland, I can't speak to Virginia that much, on top of what's already going on, we could actually make an impact. But we're getting little wins here and there. It's just, and that's science. It's bureaucracy. It never moves as fast as the issue is moving.
Is it science or is it economic?
It's definitely economics.
Because it seems like you can scream as loud as you can in front of the right people, and it really doesn't matter because there's always another source of, like the reason I was talking about everyone seems to be getting money from this, that's what they're really listening to. Mm-hmm. You can scream all day long that this is going to affect something. And
yes.
So what does it take? Who would need to hear that?
Who would need to hear that?
To really go, wow, we should probably start working on this. Because if this is the most studied body of water, you would figure, and it brings in, how much money does our Chesapeake bring in? Billions per year for the country, not just the area. Gotcha.
Port of Baltimore is one of has the highest GDP, I think the second highest GDP in the whole country for a port. This is a very important area, not even including the environmental stuff, right? We're just like trade in general, super important. There's a lot going on, and it really takes a champion, somebody to champion the issue. And it also takes the ability to translate the science. There's tons of papers about climate change, right? There's tons of papers about plastic pollution. There's more coming out every day. I know several of my own peers studying these things. But if you are not able to translate that for the people who are making the policies, for the regular people who are able to pressure their policymakers, for business owners, right, and show them this is what you can do about it, no one's going to do anything about it. Like, I feel like that's one of the biggest issues with just dealing with climate change is we were so doom and gloom about it. And yeah, it is a big doom and gloom issue, but there's plenty of things we can do to fix it. And it just takes a science communicator, and that's what part of my research is about as well, is communicating the science. That's why I wanted to make that film that actually ended up inspiring my dissertation. I'm going to make a film at the end of this project, my dissertation, about all the things that I'm learning and all the things that I researched and what other people are telling me that I interviewed. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is communicate the science in a way that people can actually digest. For me, I believe that film media is the best way to do that. And that's just, it's a lot of work though, too. It's a lot of work to expect somebody who dedicates their entire life studying something really rigorous and hard like science, right? And what's crazy about science is that you can study all day super hard, get straight A's, know exactly what you're doing, and your experiment can still fail.
Sure. And it also seems like, as important as this is for a group of people, there's always a bigger event happening. So, and it just seems to constantly now you're under, because now we have this conflict, this thing. So I can understand the difficulty of what you're passionate about, because so you spend a lot of time on the water?
I used to. When I wasn't actively doing my research. Well, I was actively doing my research. I do get to go out at least once a week. But now I'm kind of in that final end stage where I need to write a manuscript. And that's another thing that I was kind of getting at with my point before, is that scientists are expected to do all this stuff, do your experiment perfectly. It never goes perfectly. At least do it a bunch of times.
Right.
Be like, well, this is everything that I did wrong. Write a paper about that, get it accepted, present it at a conference, pass this exam, pass your defense. And then on top of that, it's like, all right, now learn journalism, learn film, learn photography, learn social media, and get it out there. And it's just like another layer of things that you have to do. But yeah, there's always a fire somewhere, right? And the squeaky oil gets the wheels. So if you really want something to be done about it, you just have to be annoying about it.
Yeah. And if after your thesis and all this process goes, will you continue this path, or is there something else that's going to, or will you somehow branch off to do something else in environmental?
Yeah.
Like, will you stay with the water project, or do we go on land at any point?
I'm an environmentalist at heart. Like, I will always be doing something environmental. Land-based stuff, maybe. I mean, land-based, and that's kind of why I wanted to do wastewater. I do want to eventually get back to that, is because it is that intersection of how land is interacting with water, right? Because a lot of the waste comes from the land. I think there's a big expectation for me because of what I've done as just a student in the blue catfish realm. I've already being asked to do a postdoc on this with blue catfish and continue the project that I'm doing, because again, I'm only studying blue catfish in relationship to striped bass and blue crab. There's a bunch of other species that are just as important. I just can't, I can't do it all.
So just on that, what you just said, tell me something in your paper that's specifically both to the crab and to those other striped bass.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is something called social network analysis. So I'm literally documenting and mapping how people that are dealing with these fish, how they are connected to each other. And by doing that, I'm able to give a measurement to the relationship. And so when we talk about making change, right? If we want to make true institutional change, it's going to come from policy. It's going to come from the legislature, right? Sure, we can do grassroots stuff and whatever, but until it is law, nobody technically has to abide by it. The government only cares, and I worked as a government contractor for about 3 or 4 years. And so I learned this the hard way. The government only cares about what they can track. You can tell them all day, you can have 5,000 people telling them the same thing. If there is not a number that you give to the government on a document, they're not going to do anything about it, because the government is risk averse, right? So unless you have the number showing that this is what's happening, right? If they ignore that, that's technically neglect, and that's a risk for them. Whereas if it's just people talking, there's no documented risk for them. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to measure the relationships now, show who's excluded, both people and species, from management, and then giving the government a way to continue to monitor and measure these things so that they have some kind of baseline to compare a future study to.
Do you think that the reason that this isn't getting as much traction is because no one's gotten sick? Like, if people were eating this fish and were dying, that would obviously bring more attention to it. But because there's really no, is there other than the fish potentially taking over, right? What is there another negative?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And this goes back to wastewater and the health of the water, right? And so there are something called consumption guidelines, and those consumption guidelines are usually location based. In the state of Maryland, they're by river, and they tell you how much of a certain fish you can eat if you're in a certain age group. Typically, small children and pregnant women and the elderly or anybody immunocompromised have like the strictest regimen of what certain fish they can eat. Blue catfish are a fatty fish. So the more fat on the fish, the more accumulation of toxins builds up in their body. There's more places for toxins to be stored there. And so when you said if people were getting sick, we don't know if people are getting sick, right? These are people who, well, first off, I would just say that the government historically has not done a great job at gaining the public's trust. There are health and consumption guidelines out there. I work with fishermen for the Invasive Fish Bounty Program that I run for the nonprofit that I work at. I try to tell people, especially ones with little kids, I know they're eating this fish, pointing to the consumption guidelines. Like, the government doesn't know what they're talking about. And I come from a fisherman family myself. I'm the first generation college student, first generation graduate student in my family. And so I grew up in New York City. The fish are definitely polluted there too. Did I eat them? Hell yeah, I did.
Because this is a fatty fish, and I'm so sorry to cut you off, is this where we would get more of a mercury poisoning?
Oh, definitely.
What other poisons, or what else could this fish hold?
PCBs, which are a byproduct of typically like plastic or any kind of like industrial activity going on. And so that can also be bioaccumulated or accumulated in the fish. And so I know people are eating them. I see them. They tell me that they're eating them. I tried to warn them as a scientist, but they don't believe me. And I understand why they don't believe me, because my people, scientists, have not done enough to gain the trust of the public, right? We're kind of like going on as two separate sectors, right? And also science has done a lot of like things to make the public distrust us. Johns Hopkins with Henrietta Lacks, right, and harvesting her cells illegally for cancer research. And now, that's only one thing in the laundry list of things that medical science did wrong to the Black and brown communities. Of course they're not going to trust what scientists are saying, even when I had nothing to do with that, right? I do not support anything like that. I just want to help people, but they're not going to believe me unless I go out of my way to gain their trust, which I do try to do. And that's talking to them in a way that's like respectful, that you're listening to them, showing them that you listened to them and you did something about it, giving them aid, some kind of aid, so that through the Invasive Bounty Program, we're paying them to be able to catch and remove these fish. They're asking me to do these things with the government, right? I'm just a student, but I'm trying. I'm able to do some things, right? And that's how I, as an individual scientist, can help gain their trust so they listen to me. But we really need to change how we approach things as scientists as a whole.
I'm assuming the people that live on the water will listen to you more than people who don't listen. No, that's not true? No. Okay. Because I can also see where a family who is living paycheck to paycheck is probably buying this fish a lot cheaper.
They're not even buying it. They're going out, their dad's going out and catching it for them.
Okay. And it's, who are you to tell me kind of attitude.
Yeah, and then you have a language barrier, right? So Baltimore itself is a huge and diverse city. You have people who speak languages from all over the world, right? I am semi-trilingual, like super semi. I can't effectively communicate to somebody from El Salvador. They're an active fisherman. They're great at fishing. They're turning in dozens and dozens of fish a week, trying to tell them in my broken Spanish, like the health complications, giving them a translation in Spanish, and they're just like,
So we as Marylanders import blue crab from other states.
From other countries.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where are we sending blue fish to?
Blue catfish?
Yeah.
There isn't a huge interstate market to my knowledge right now. There's barely a Chesapeake Bay market for it.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to go back to what we were talking about earlier with the size of the Chesapeake. So we're dealing with York
River, Virginia.
In Virginia. And then obviously our area.
Patapsco, yeah.
Will this fish migrate north and south? Are they starting to do that? Are they going?
Oh yeah, they found them as north as Delaware Bay.
Okay.
And as south as the Carolinas.
Wow.
So they're.
It's moving.
Yeah.
Wow. And do we know what major fish is its predator?
None in our area.
Okay. All right. Wow, that's a lot to take on. So what is the name of your research? The whole, because I remember when I sat with it, I thought I only wrote down like 3 words, but it's quite a title. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
I wish there was a better one, but there isn't. I mean,
did you come up with the title?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're allowed, because it's your project, you can name it whatever.
Yeah.
And then other people, other doctors come on as writers with you? So you send it out and say, hey, this is what I'm writing, and then they come on board?
Yeah, so as a PhD student, you have to have a committee. Your committee is who trains you and also who gives you the stamp of approval that says you get to graduate or not.
Okay.
And so, at least in my program, it's pretty similar, I think, across all the programs in the U.S., I have 5 committee members. And so that's 5 scientists with doctorates that I have to convince that I am knowledgeable enough to also hold the title of doctor.
Are they in this realm of education?
Somewhat.
Okay.
And so that's also the goal of your committee, is you want to try to find people with the correct qualifications in the subject matter that you're doing.
And you did that. You
Yes.
found 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Was that hard to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Some people just ditch you out of nowhere and don't say anything.
Oh, wow.
Some people are like, I can't take any more students, because the percentage of people who hold PhDs in the world is only 1%. And so it's like we're all vying for like the same, especially if you're in the same like subject matter, you're all vying for the same people to be on your committee.
I get it. So what seems to be your biggest speed bump? Not so much as a blockade, but more of a, like, you're really having trouble getting over something. Like, just if I could just get this, I can move on to the next thing. Is there something that's in your way? Manpower.
So I am immunocompromised. I have kidney disease, and that's a huge barrier. I also was born with the energy of like 10 men. So, you know, I have this physical disability that does make it hard for me to work. And sometimes I just like can't, which sucks. But that, and the fact that what I'm doing is so emergent, there's not a lot of people that I can call on to help me, because there's some literature on it, but it's like what I'm doing, first off, no one's ever done a socio-ecological network analysis of blue catfish ever in the world. So it's like some other students, they do stuff that other people have already done and they're growing on it, so they can go and talk to those people, but I don't have anybody to talk to. I mean, I have people who've done adjacent stuff, but never exactly what I'm doing. And on top of that, a huge barrier for me is because it's so new, I'm creating novel code to be able to mine all this information, right? So it's not only am I becoming an expert in this fish, becoming an expert in the science, becoming an expert in the anthropology, but I'm also becoming a computer data analysis. And so it's like, I'm regretting it very much so now, but it's like I've decided to wear like 4 to 5 hats that in theory would each be their own PhD, but I've decided to lump them all into one.
Now, I do know, with working with other doctors of other in different realms of education, it's not really a monetary thing. You're not really interested in, oh, can I make money doing this? Is there an ability to make money doing this just to keep funding the project?
Yeah, so that's a huge thing in science, is funding. And because this is the most well-studied body of water in the world, it's also the most competitive place in the world to get grant funding. And so a lot of scientists, like you said, they don't do it for the money. As a graduate student, and I'm sure my graduate counterparts can attest to that, we're definitely not in it for the money. I make less than a McDonald's manager, right? And you have to give up a minimum of 5 years of your life of living below the poverty line, trying to figure out how to live. So no one's doing this for money. Some people are. Like some people, but you don't need a PhD to go open a business to do something. You need maybe a master's. Some people do get their PhD, but to do your PhD, you're really sacrificing financial stability, mental health, years off your life to do this thing because you really want to try to help the world. And I had a bachelor's degree before I got into my PhD program, and I just kept hearing no. I want to do this to help these people. No, you're not qualified. I want to get a raise because I've been doing this, this, and this. Well, your degree maxes out at this level. And so it kind of...
The cool thing though is that you are, let's just say, innovator, right? You're the striving lead in this specific field, so you get to like write your own book.
Yeah.
You get to say, hey, you know what? No, I heard no a lot, which you can take no as a negative, or you can take no as, and if you don't mind my language, you can go, hey, I want to do what I want to do.
Oh yeah.
And you can go blow it at your ass.
Right? Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And I understand what it's like. We can parallel in certain things, but like I understand what it's like to hit the ground running, and you think all it's going to take is for one person to hear it, and it's going to catch on like wildfire.
Yeah.
And you're screaming and you're doing everything right, and no one's listening, no one's getting it, no one cares. Like so I understand how mentally that can play on you, and then sometimes you just want to sit on your couch and just go, not today. You know, just gonna.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I've said I wanted to quit many times, but I will say, it's not like nobody's listening.
Sure.
I'll go back. People are listening,
right.
And I'm always so pleasant. Like after that talk, I was always so pleasantly surprised by like how much people actually care, and that's where the science communication comes in. Where it's like you need to put yourself in those situations with new people. Step outside of this echo chamber. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful that I get to go and talk to people, and I know that they're not going to tell me that climate change is a Chinese hoax, right? Because we're all studying the same thing. We've read enough to know that it's real. And sometimes it's uncomfortable to talk to the public because you do get that. 100%. I get nut jobs coming up to me telling me that everything that I study is fake and I'm wasting my time. But then on the other end, I also get people who have no background in this stuff who think this stuff is really, really cool. Yeah. And that kind of pushes you to keep going.
And that's where I fell into this. First of all, are we allowed to say where we are currently right now? Yeah. Okay, where are we in Baltimore?
We are in downtown Baltimore at the Institute of Marine Environmental Science.
And you also call it?
IMET.
IMET. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is your office, and underneath this roof, what is here? What
so
different?
Much.
So there's your area. Who else is in this building that forms this building?
Yeah, so we have a premier recirculating aquaculture system, which is an indoor aquaculture system downstairs in the basement. Variety of different fish species down there, from crabs to fish and everything in between.
Are they studying that fish, or
Yes.
Are they studying it? Like, do they put it through stressors to see how it's going to react?
Some studies do that. Some of them are trying to figure out how to grow fish in captivity. Some of them are just studying the growth of these fish because there's not a lot of literature on it. A lot of it, aquaculture, is really based on how can we grow this food product or this animal separate from its natural environment in the most efficient, cost-efficient, sustainable way and humane way, right? Because there's a lot of protocols that go into being able to handle fish.
Imagine.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of like ethical certifications in order to be able to just enter that room downstairs.
If we're doing, and I don't want to get off topic too much, but is there any of the bluefish here?
Blue catfish here? No.
Okay.
They're not an aquaculture species.
Gotcha.
At the moment, at least not here.
Okay. So we're hitting the ground running. We're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing. You get some pushback. I get it. It's tough. With the groups that you're visiting and you're going out to do, are you getting more help from a specific type of group of people, other than the indigenous people, but like the fishers or the people who want to get rid of it? Are they the ones making the most noise? Like, who in the room is screaming the loudest?
The indigenous groups are screaming the loudest, followed by the watermen.
Okay, so the indigenous people don't want it.
No.
So they are doing everything. Are they doing something actively to get rid of it that we don't know about, or
there is, as in terms of like a commission, not so much.
Okay.
Individual groups do have their own. Individual tribes have their own science specialists, and they're doing stuff. So the Pamunkey, the Mattaponi tribe, and I think the Upper Mattaponi tribe as well, all in Virginia, they have various environmental things going on. I really think the Pamunkey is one of the leaders in trying to deal with the blue catfish, but this is all emergent stuff, and we also we can't keep putting the onerous of taking care of our environment on the same people that we oppressed and tried to erase from our history.
You keep saying the word tribe.
Tribe, yes.
I hear the word tribe and I'm thinking something from Cowboys and Indians Day, like tribe. What are you specifically talking about when you say a tribe of a group of?
Yeah.
And how big are their groups?
Huge.
No kidding.
Yeah.
In Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to the Mattaponi Reservation on the York River. It's very remote. They actually just got internet connection over the past year, but one or two of them has a biology degree.
Wow.
Actually, was working with one of them, Tammy, super sweet, down there. We were trying to collaborate with her. I met her by volunteering at their annual powwow. I think their tribe is like in the thousands.
Wow.
The Potomac tribe, I think, is a bit smaller. The Pamunkey tribe, I think, is also very pretty large. And the Pamunkey and the Mattaponi have some of the oldest reservations in the country.
Wow. And it's still federal land?
I think.
Wow.
I know that they're all state recognized. I'm not sure if they're all federal.
Who would have known that there were tribes in Virginia?
Oh, yeah, they have annual powwows. You should go sometime.
Amazing.
They invite, everybody's allowed to go. They're super fun.
I'm sure it is. It's just, it's unfortunate. It's just so weird. The level of you peel the onion, and there's another thing. Like again, I went to your event thinking it was one thing, fell in love with it. I love talking to you before the event, and what really got me was the fact that we were just joking around, and you had already written a book.
Oh yeah.
And what's the name of your book?
Environmental Management of Baltimore Harbor, the Past, Present, and the Future.
That's a pretty lengthy title.
Yeah, I know.
Was that old?
Short titles.
Is that a doctor thing?
It was really, so my advisors are kind of the premier scientists in the world for science communication. They both have a super hard science background, like they were in the lab doing, stuff with equipment that I can't even pronounce.
Right.
And they decided to transition to science communication. And my advisor, I have two advisors, Dr. Bill Dennison was actually the man who created the Chesapeake Bay report card, which is used to influence legislation and various things. They use them in classrooms. Oh man, I forgot your question.
So that's okay. So you said he was the pioneer who invented this thing.
The Chesapeake Bay report card, yes.
What are you pioneering?
I'm pioneering the intersection of anthropology and environmental science.
Okay. And then if I just took that title, what can I do with that as far as how do I distribute that so other people can understand what that is?
Yeah, so anthropology is the study of humans, our culture, our language, our biology, and our history. So it's everything humans. And environmental science is everything with the earth, including nature and the built space. And that goes back to that really lengthy word again, socio-ecological systems, right? Social, the anthropology, the human side, and the environment or the ecological side. They are one and the same. And we've for so long treated them as two separate things. And it's kind of like, I like to think of the analogy of you're sick in your body, right? Let's say you have appendicitis and your symptoms are, you got headaches and stomach cramps, so you're taking Tylenol, you're putting hot compresses on stuff. You're treating the symptom, but you're not treating the cause. And so that's really where environmental anthropology is the cause of things, because we're treating a lot of symptoms, right? Like wastewater management. We might build a new wastewater facility and that might help with a portion of it, but there's still wastewater going in the water. We need to deal with the symptom, which is how are the humans dealing with this? Why are they dealing with that? Like what are the factors, economic, cultural, and then the environmental side of like what's impacting it? What could we use from nature to solve this, right? There's plants that can absorb all this stuff. If we just dumped our wastewater into a huge field of certain types of plants that we knew were super good at uptaking different chemicals, we could solve a whole bunch of different issues. But because we just play out in our different silos, it's like so many great ideas, and if we just connected them, we could fix something much, much bigger than our individual little pieces.
So back to the economy of our Chesapeake. We are big on crabbing, we're big on the fish. Oyster, I'm just now learning about oyster farming and the whole thing. Does oyster have anything to do with anything that you're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Blue catfish eat them.
No shit.
Yep.
Imagine that.
They don't move, so the blue catfish are going to eat them.
Wow.
I mean, even if they move, the blue catfish would eat them too.
Do you see an end to this at any point? Do you see a fix?
A fix to blue catfish or just issues in general?
It hurts to hear that you have 5 years of passion into this. You've dumped you've read probably countless books. You're writing books. You're writing the next page on something. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when will you be happy? When someone acknowledges it on the legislation side and they go, hey, we should probably really look at this, will that make you happy? Or when they go, hey, you know what, it's being sold at Walmart now. Like, where will your happiness be with all your studies?
So I will say that policymakers are looking at it.
Okay.
Congresswoman Sarah Elfreth is the one who pioneered getting blue catfish into pet food as a way to kind of open the market for blue catfish.
She is from where?
She is a congresswoman that represents a district in Anne Arundel County.
Waterside. So I'm just trying to put like the people who are making at least waves with it are people that are on the water.
I would say her counties aren't directly on the water.
Okay.
No. Okay. I mean, there's rivers everywhere in Maryland, right? So technically we're all waterside, but...
Do you know how she started to talk about it? Did you guys talk to her about it, or is she...
Yeah.
Okay.
So she is a part of the invasive catfish work group. So she actually had a staffer come and talk to us and float some ideas around and stuff. But I'm sure people beyond us brought this issue up to her. And that's the thing too, there are plenty of people in this area that are aware of the blue catfish issue, especially the people who are working on the water. When would I feel satisfied? I'll feel satisfied when there's no longer a debate as to whether it's an issue.
Oh, okay.
Right, if we can have a consensus on something, and I feel like in our country right now, everything is super polarized, but it's like, you could be on whatever side of the aisle, there's things we can agree on.
Sure.
And if everybody can agree that like, we need to do something about this, then I'll feel like I did my job.
Do you have an advocate, like a Greta? Is there someone of that size that you guys, as environmental people, go, we stand with that person? Is there someone else other than Greta, or because everyone seems to know her because she made the most noise, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, I would say, Greta, she didn't make the most noise. People just paid the most attention to her.
Because she was, obviously, she met some neat things. She was young, she was very outspoken.
Yeah.
Whether or not you agree with her or not, I don't want to get too political.
No. I do agree with her. I do. I think there's also an element of sexism and racism in environmental science that just does not get talked about enough. Like, I was talking to my partner about it, and I would say it's not within my cohort itself. It really is kind of like the older generation of like, I could say one thing super eloquently, polite, well-researched, yada, yada, yada. If the person that I'm talking to has something against women something, like, they're not going to listen to me. And this actually happened to me in college. I said something to a professor in class. He told me to not be so dramatic. My partner, who was a white male, right, we're friends, he looked at me and he said, watch this. He raised his hand, said what I said verbatim.
Yeah.
Professor was like, wow,
you're
really making me think.
That's unfortunate.
And so there is that element of that. As somebody who came from New York, I was raised to be loud and be proud and stand up for what you believe in. Like, I come from a place where if the landlord is messing with the tenants rally together, give him a headache. They inflate a giant rat in front of their apartment complex to let everybody know that their landlord is a rat. And like, definitely coming here, there's been some cultural clashes where people don't like that I'm a woman who will be like, no.
That's really interesting in this day and age. That would have been the last thing I ever would have thought about, because I would assume all of the PhDs in the room are just excited to get moving, like to get traction. To hear that I'm not going to listen to a woman is just so fascinating to hear.
And again, I would say it's not really my cohort.
Sure.
It's cohorts that maybe got their PhD 4 or 5 generations above me. But there are also still people in that age bracket who defy that and are super like open-minded. Like my advisor, I think, don't get mad at me, Bill, but he's pushing 70, or he is 70. Very open-minded guy. Could talk to him about any race topic. One of my committee members, Eric, the most like open-minded white guy I've ever met. Like you could talk to him about critical race theory and he knows more than me as like a person of color. And so there are people like that, but there are people in power who are still of that very old mindset.
That's just so amazing to hear. Well, I could talk for hours, and I know I don't have you for hours. So why don't you tell us where we can find any of this? Give us any social you want to give us.
Yeah.
And if you want to repeat anything that you said about it, the floor is yours. Feel free to say whatever you want.
Yeah, so if you want to see my research, specifically the video that I made with the Potomac Tribe of Virginia, you can find it on YouTube. It's called Managing the Potomac, featuring the Potomac Tribe of Virginia. I also have a couple of smaller documentaries out. One of them is Angler Stories on the Environmental Justice Journalism Initiative YouTube. My personal handle is Verography, VEROGRAPHIE. My partner said I should change that name because it's kind of long, but it's like Veronica.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, okay, cool. And I guess a takeaway is don't lose hope. Every little thing that you do is a count towards progress. And there's so much bad in the world, but there's so much good. And if you add to the good, like you don't know it, but like you're inspiring other people, especially the younger generation. And I think actually that would be my marker for success. I have a high school intern now. Shout out to Alana. She's great. Smarter than most college and graduate students that I work with, and she's in high school. She makes me feel hope for the future. And knowing that I can mentor her and like mentor other students like I have done and will continue to do, just know that like I'm multiplying my passion and my knowledge by however many of those people that I touch.
Real quick, how long did it take you to make a movie? Would you consider it a documentary?
It's like a mix.
Okay. How long did it take you to do it?
A month and a half.
Okay. Any type of, just like basic iPhone? Did you have a reel-to-reel? Did you have a camcorder?
I used a real like DSLR camera, and then I used my phone, and then I used a really, really bad mic. So the audio is terrible, but I couldn't afford a good mic at that point. But I have a good one now. So.
Yeah, we all start somewhere. What of all the passion projects you've done? You've written a book, you've made a movie, you actually made a couple movies, you're writing paper. Where do you fall in love with? What's the one thing that you're on? If I could do another one, this is what I would do. How long did it take you to write a book? And you're young. You're like, what, 26?
29.
29. Yeah. And you wrote a book.
Yeah.
You know, that says something, right?
I guess.
I'm almost 50. I barely read a book, so.
Well, thank you. I mean, the book I think took me like 4 or 5 months.
That's it.
I did have help on it though. So.
No, but it's just interesting. Like you said, I want to sit down and start typing. You wrote something, and then where did you take it to get it to the next spot? And then you can actually physically buy your book.
It's free.
But I'm saying like you can hold a book. It's got a binder. It's.
Yeah, we did print some of them.
That's so crazy. Do you have them? Did you give them to your family and sign them?
I did give some to my family. I think we gave out all the printed copies of them. I didn't sign them. My family is honestly, I don't know. As like a first generation student, I would have thought that they would have been more proud of me, but they're actually kind of jealous. But I found that my peers are very proud of me.
Well, your peers are running parallel with you. So it's very difficult to take opinions from someone who's never ridden in the path that you're riding.
Yes.
Now listen, I'm a stupid commentator, if you will, right? I have a lot of questions. That's why I could talk to you for hours.
I think the smartest people have questions.
Sure, and I think questions are great because questions lead to a result. Instead of me standing here complaining, I want to know more about it. And again, I would do this again with you just because I want to know more.
All right.
But it's hard for me to accept criticism from people in my family because I go, what do you know about what I'm doing?
Yeah, it's not even criticism. It's
Sure.
like...
There's always that one person in your family who's like, I support you. You're the greatest in the whole world.
That's my grandma.
Sure. And we all have a grandma, right? But it's like, and then there's other people that are going like, why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing, and you're going, again, each part of it's like a Lego house.
Yeah.
Each piece is a Lego set, a piece, and it builds to the thing. So I get it.
Well, I would say the young people in my family have boundless questions for me, and they think I know everything. Like one time, me and my cousin were at the beach, and he just points to the ocean. He's like, "How many fish are in there right now?" And I'm like,
so you're still learning stuff every day.
Every day.
What's the latest thing that you learned about the specific thing that you're in? That you were like, I did not know that.
That beyond that specific, I was writing a lot, so it's going to be blue catfish focused, but that blue catfish bring in $909 million annually in GDP to the state of Maryland alone.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough fight to get rid of.
Oh, sorry. Not, let me...
Yeah, no. Okay.
Striped bass bring in $909 million annually GDP to the state of Maryland alone.
And that's because of sport fishing, eating?
Yeah, 39% of that is from recreational fishing.
Do you like numbers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't know numbers, what are you arguing about?
Is it difficult to have someone in your life, because you said partner, I'm assuming you guys are a couple.
Yeah.
Are they in this industry or in this field at all?
He did work with me for a bit. He's my number 2 fan behind my grandma.
Absolutely.
But he's very smart in other things. And that's why I think we complement each other very well. Like tech wizard, music wizard.
Sure. But you come home from a hard day of research. Your head's about to explode. Your eyes are, it's hard to blink. We've all been there. And you come home and go, hey, honey, sorry if that's what you don't say, but this is what I did today. And he goes, sure. Because he listens, right? Because he's yours.
Oh, yeah.
But then you go,
me and him we're both autistic, like very autistic.
Sure.
So we have we give each other lectures. Like he'll give me my time to give my lecture about what I learned today. And so it's usually environmentally related. And then today, he was lecturing me about the history of the WNBA and the wage gap between the NBA and the WNBA.
Sure.
And then I was explaining to him about sexism and the sex wage gap. And we just kind of went back and forth for like 2 hours.
Because we are in Baltimore, and this is a Baltimore-based podcast. How long have you been in Baltimore? I'm just going to ask you just a couple random Baltimore stuff, and then I'll let you go. Because again, I could keep you here all day. How long have you actually physically been in Baltimore?
I think I'm going on 4 years now.
Okay. Do you live in the city limits?
No.
Okay. Do you like the city?
I do like the city.
Are you into the so you got here right around COVID?
Right after.
Right after.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that you didn't get to experience.
I did.
Yeah. So do you get to experience nightlife? Do you like going out?
I used to like going out.
Okay.
Not so much anymore. What I really like doing in Baltimore is checking out the art scene.
Oh, sure.
I love all the art museums here. Trying to make my way to historical museums as well.
Very nice.
The food, I mean, come on.
We are getting a lot of good food recently.
Yeah, a lot of good food. And I just, all like the little outdoor things that happen throughout the city and all the markets, the food markets. What I will say as somebody who's originally from New York and then lived in Miami and then moved to Baltimore, this is like the nicest city I've ever lived in. Like people are just so, like I understand why they call it Charm City. They are charming. Like even the homeless people are just nice and like I talk to them sometimes and they're just like, how's your day? And I'm like, it's all right. How's your day? And I remember one time I was in the ER in downtown. So I got RSV from going to Dave & Buster's, which I'll never go to Dave & Buster's ever again. But I was just like throwing up. And in the wintertime, the homeless hang out in the ER because it's warm in there and whatever. the homeless people were advocating for me. They were going up to the nurses being like, you need to get that girl in there now.
Yeah.
And they were just so sweet. And I just like never really experienced that before as like a very hardcore Northeaster. But
it's really interesting when you think of people as a dynamic. The people who have the least give the most.
oh yeah.
And it's very true. I've seen I'm a major dork when it comes to documentaries. I'll watch a documentary on anything, and there's always the documentary where they give like the homeless man a large sum of money and they follow him. And just watching him give it away he shared his wealth, which was just fascinating. And then the higher on the tax bracket you go, the less they care. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, the homeless here is super nice. Obviously, I don't make that much, so I can't give them a lot of money, but I give them my pocket change. I carry water bottles in my car for them and snacks, and they're always so happy. And like, I wish I could do more. And actually, that's like one of my plans for the nonprofit I work for. I want to try to do more aid for them.
So just a little backstory on what I have done in the past. So I just want to let people know that we're at the end of '83, right in front of Little Italy. Mm-hmm. Pier 5 is right over there. Mm-hmm. Right over there is Dave and Buster's, the aquarium. It's all like, I'm just trying to give a point of reference where we are. If you go up 83, there's a church right at Shot Tower. Mm-hmm. We used to call it Tent City because that's where all the homeless used to live. 1 year, we decided to put on food for the homeless.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
we were fined for feeding the homeless. Is there anything about Baltimore that you're going to miss when you leave?
I'm not sure I'm going to leave Baltimore.
Really?
I think my plan now is either I'm going to leave the country or I'm going to stay here.
Wow. Okay.
I really like it here. Like I said, not beyond the homeless people, not everybody, some people are,
Sure.
having their days. But
absolutely.
I've never been to a place where strangers stop you on the street, ask you how your day is, and genuinely listen and then tell you how their day is.
Sure. Well, it was an amazing experience with you today, as it was when I met you a couple weeks ago. If you could just say your socials again, tell us where we can see everything that you're doing, because you also have like your thing that you did was your PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. You have that on somewhere where we can view that?
No, I can. It's weird with science. They don't really want you to publish things until it's been peer reviewed, because if it's incorrect, then that makes everybody look bad.
I will tell you that the parts that you've done, and from someone who knew nothing about what you were doing, the most amazing thing I thought about that I found, again, because I attached my vision onto one specific thing, how ugly this fish is.
Oh yeah.
It's a hideous looking creature, but you did a very good job explaining everything you did, and it was a lot of fun because you know the stuff so well that you were not just regurgitating it; you were explaining it to us, and then the cool little
mentee questions.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm trying to get my job to use those.
Yeah.
Because it's just fun. You made it like interactive. So it was a lot of fun. And I had a lot of fun today. I hope you had some fun.
I did.
If there's anything that you want to talk about before we leave, the floor is yours again. But yeah, I can't thank you enough for coming on Arguing Goldfish. And we made a new friend.
Yeah.
And I hope we get to do this again.
For sure. My socials are at Verography, VEROGRAPHIE, like photography, but Vero in the front. I have a TikTok, I have a YouTube, I have a Snapchat, and I have an Instagram and a Facebook and a website. So check me out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.